Even with today's stellar gains, Walmart's about flat year to date, underperforming the retail index, the XRT, by about 12%. So put this quarter, put the guidance in context relative to the rest of the sector.
Yeah, I think it's in the context of a reinvestment cycle for Walmart. The stock over the last year is up nicely at the tail end of what's been a multi-year cycle of reinvestment into the business. We've seen margins under pressure. We have seen accelerating momentum in same-store sales growth. But late last year, on the e-commerce side of things, we saw growth falter. That created a little bit of downward pressure on the stock from previous highs. We recovered some of that in 1Q. We've recovered more of that today with e-commerce sales continuing to accelerate. So I think these are proof points along the way relative to the quality of management's investments in the business.
Go ahead. How do you view the online sales division? Put it in perspective for us. I mean, we had an analyst here the other day. We've all been marveling at the investment that they've put into their online division, the companies that they bought, Jet.com and so forth. But then an analyst came by here the other day and said, it's all about groceries at Walmart. Online is just, a small piece. And as Courtney just pointed out, it's 4%. But still, 40% growth in their online sales in this latest quarter is very impressive. Yes?
It's a big number, for sure. It's a big number. They've spent a lot of money to reinvent this business, to reinvent the way that the customer thinks about this business and their place in the e-commerce landscape. Grocery is an important part of that. They've been adding buy online, pick up in store for the grocery at a steady pace over each of the last several years. That's driving growth. We're seeing bigger baskets. I think steadily we're seeing an improved offering from Walmart in what's a very competitive industry. Obviously, Amazon's a leader in the space. I think Walmart is increasingly solidifying their position in the industry. 40% growth is fantastic. It's below what we saw late last year,
right.
But against difficult comparisons.
But to put Bill's question, I guess, more precisely, what drives that stock? When I look at the 2-year chart, and we brought this up with an analyst yesterday, when you look at the most recent peak in the stock, it was when the whole world woke up and said, wow, it looks like Walmart is actually getting online right. They get it right for 2 quarters, and then boom, they don't, and the stock falls.
Yeah. Does
the stock get driven by groceries, or does it get driven by the belief that it's finally going to manage the online platform in a way that drives their bottom line?
They're both critical. E-commerce is critical. I think in light of the magnitude of the investments that the company is putting into the business, the margin pressure we've seen, I don't think they can get anything wrong. I think they have to put up good results across the board. We saw good comps last quarter. We saw better e-commerce growth. In this most recent quarter, we saw great results out of both segments. The stock's being rewarded for it. And I think for investors to be patient as it relates to the margin pressure, they need to see the growth in all aspects of the business. So these guys really need to deliver solid results across the board for the stock to be rewarded.
So what does this tell you about Target, which may be its closest comparable, except it has less grocery exposure, so less margin pressure perhaps?
So I don't cover Target, but what I think it says about the consumer, the low-end consumer, we're seeing bigger baskets. Walmart has shown really strong same-store traffic growth over each of the last several years. But just here recently, we started to see same-store ticket expand. We had the strongest same-store ticket expansion that we've seen in a long time at Walmart, up north of 2%. We're seeing consumers spend more in the stores. I think that points to a healthier consumer more broadly. It helps on the grocery side of the business.